Hi there. Welcome to Small Business Coffee Break, the video series where we take a few minutes to work on your business, not just in it. Today we talk with Jeffrey Daitz of Hall Booth Smith PC about compensable time. Are your employees really working 9 to 5? Jeffrey has over 20 years of experience with employment and labor law, so grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. We talked a little bit on wage and hour about overtime, which is the first thing that pops in my mind because it's the thing I think I see most often. But you mentioned things like meal breaks and breaks and other work times that I may not have, as an employer, have realized is a work time. I mean, could you give me some of the ins and outs of situations you may have seen where, like, what I would not have considered, hey, this should have been a paid work hour or a paid work 5 minutes, which turns into days over long periods of time?
Sure. Perfect example is sometimes people have time clocks. Sometimes people have hand scanners. One thing that is common is when the Department of Labor comes in and does investigations, they look at the payroll. So let's just say you have 50 employees that are coming to work and their shift is 9 to 5, right? How many people can actually punch in 50 people at 9 o'clock exactly? Right? So what happened is sometimes people are getting to work earlier and they're punching in early. But if you look at the time for time, punch in, punch out, you are not having a 9 to 5 job. So the documentation component, let's just say every day you're punching in 20 minutes early, okay? The Department of Labor comes in there and they're auditing your records. What are they gonna look at? They're not gonna look at your 9 to 5. They're gonna look at your time in, time out. And they're gonna say you need to be compensated for the time in, time out. There are certain grace periods that the federal government will work with, reasonable grace periods, but you can't, for the betterment of a company, take advantage of an employee's time. That's one example. Another is meal breaks. A meal break is something that is supposed to be an uninterrupted lunch break, which means if the person is working during their lunch break, it's compensable time under the Fair Labor Standards Act. Uninterrupted is uninterrupted. It's leave the office, take a stroll, go to the mall, do whatever. But if you're working, you're compensated. And a lot of companies don't understand that.
That's the last time I ask a question during the lunch break, isn't it? It's not going to happen again. That's really interesting because it's, personally, again, overtime immediately comes to mind. Hey, 40 hours, that's kind of drilled into your brain. But I can totally see situations where, in fact, I can give an example. My many moons ago, my grandfather had a business, had a gentleman who opened the business every day for 20 years. And his general habit, which was established at the time of the loss, this ended up being a workers' compensation claim, was to come in, open the door, turn on the lights, turn on the computers, then walk across the street to get coffee. Did that almost 100% of the time. In this particular unfortunate day, he parked the car and chose not to open the door, chose to walk across the street to get the coffee. As he was doing so, a van came by and the mirror hit him on the head. And then the poor man passed away. So, the question was whether or not he was working at the time of the loss. In that particular situation, it was deemed he was, because there was sufficient, probably anecdotal, but after investigation, so on and so forth, the carrier in that case decided, no, we can prove that he's pretty much done this the same way every day for the last 20 years, and this time it was an outlier. So he was working, though he didn't open the door and was on his way to drink coffee, but he was also allowed to do that during his morning time every day. So it was compensable time. He was working, and the benefits were paid out. Those are those small details sometimes that end up causing either a large problem or can help avoid those large.
These are all the things we're talking about. They're minefields. They're minefields, and knowing how to navigate the minefield is what is key. Again, we can't emphasize enough the educational component, being proactive on where you're going with things. But the minefields are there, and you just need to be risk smart. You need to realize that there's practices out there that can help you, and you need to partner with people that will help you.
Right, let's keep the conversation going. Ask a question in the comments. Or if you want to get in contact with Jeffrey or me, our contact information is in the description. See you next week for another cup of coffee and more questions answered.